I now call to order the Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025, 3 p.m. School Board Workshop. Please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem.
You can be okay.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Graduation call still.
That's insane.
All right, so we will move on to roll call, starting down that way.
Lauren Ramirez, present.
Janie, Ruddy, present.
Derek Barr's present.
Christy, Chong.
Will Furry present.
LaShakia Moore.
Okay, so we will move on to board member liaison updates. Ms. Ramirez, do you have anything to report?
Just that this is the last week for the FTC summer camp, which has been hosted at Belterre Elementary. Amazing experience for all the kids that have been there. The staff there has been wonderful, and seeing them in action. They have a great system, so I know not a lot's going on this summer, but there is a lot going on, and I just want to thank FTC for hosting it, and then Belterre for hosting it at their location in the last week.
Ready?
Nice. I want to congratulate the new principal for Buddy Taylor, Katie Hansen. We're in great hands with her at the helm. I can't think of a better person to take over after Miss Cronk. I think we're in store for great things there. Also, for those of you who aren't aware, this is probably an update across the board. The district is moving from Remind to Parent Square, which has a lot more functionality than just Remind. So I know, when your cheese is moved, it's painful, but this is definitely worth it. And to check that out online if you haven't already done so. So thank you much. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just tonight, Chairman Dance from the County Commission will be giving a proclamation from our community traffic safety team. So look forward to having him there tonight on some safety advocacy work for the county. Look forward to having him, as I said. That's really all I have, other than just a quick statement of we're getting close to starting school again. I know Ms. Moore is going to talk about that. We've got a lot of things that are happening, and it seems like we just finished school, because I'm still getting over being sick from everybody graduating, but now we're going to go back into school, and I'm really excited about what the new year holds and all the great liaison work that we're going to do moving forward. So I'll give my time.
Yeah, summertime, not a whole lot of updates, but I will just say welcome to Assistant Principal Ms. Janie Scala. And also Meet the Teacher will be August 8th, 9 through 11. That's all I have.
Thank you. Yeah, the updates over the summer will be a little bit thin, but they will be more robust here very soon. So, I just have a couple of, just an update on the Flagler, the Fitzgerald Performing Arts Center. In June, the auditorium was filled with dance shows and summer theater camps. There was a generous sponsor that donated 6 beautiful 13-foot sable palms to the front of the auditorium, creating more space and outdoor events. So that's really nice. The auditorium season will begin with a celebration of arts education under the Big Top on September 13th with Cirque des Canines, a dog show. Tickets will be free for children. And the auditorium board will receive $70,000 in general support funds from the Division of Cultural Affairs next year based on a rank score of cultural facilities grants. So that's encouraging there.
Awesome.
Also, the auditorium granted $8,000 in arts teacher grants last month, covering everything from visual art shows to sending talented students to summer band camps. So lots of great things happening over at the Fitzgerald. And that's all I have for liaison. So we will now move on. Do we have any changes to the agenda today, Superintendent Moore?
Yes, I do request that item 8.3, the YMCA informational presentation, be moved after public comment.
Okay, very good. All right. So I need a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Motion to approve.
A motion by Mr. Bars,
Second.
second by Ms. Chong. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we will move forward with this agenda. So that leads us to public comment. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment? None? Okay, so we will close public comment and move on with our first agenda item, and that is 8.03 YMCA information. And that is, we're going to invite Mr. Walsh and Mr. Silkop from the YMCA.
And I just want to take a moment to apologize to them and the public. We honored the life of Dr. Jim Gines today, and we made some adjustments to our calendar, and they were not given all of their adjustments. So they spent some time with us during the budget meeting as well, and so we do apologize, and we appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for your flexibility.
Thank you. I just appreciate the clock being adjusted because I thought we were going to be late for the 3 o'clock. So thank you for having us. My name is John Walsh, Flagler County resident since August of 1990, husband of 42 years to my wife Nancy, proud father of 3 Flagler County school educated children. Current occupation, retired. And what I've learned about retirement so far is I should have started this way. A member of the Volusia Flagler Family YMCA Regional Board of Directors, and I serve on the task force to build the YMCA here in Flagler County. Even though there have been 2 previous YMCAs in Palm Coast, this journey started in 2019. It started when I met Chris, who was just returning to the YMCA region, this time as executive director. Along with a friend, developer Jeff Douglas, we invited Chris to visit Town Center with the hopes of him planting his flag here in Palm Coast. At the meeting, Chris thought it was a great idea. He loved the vision of coming to Palm Coast, but his reply to us at that time was thanks, but no thanks. Chris was hired to turn the YMCA region around. The Ys were hemorrhaging money, and in 4 years, he's accomplished that mission and then some. The Y is not something new to our board. This will actually fulfill the long-term strategic plan and finally fulfill our official name, Volusia Flagler Family YMCA. We're not here today looking for a handout. Instead, we seek a mutual beneficial partnership that will help us fulfill our mutual missions to build a healthy spirit, mind, and body for all, and to strengthen our community, and to provide unique competitive advantages to Flagler schools in this new age of vouchers of school choice. Now to introduce the YMCA and the region and our plans to build a $16 million YMCA here in Flagler. It's my pleasure to introduce Executive Director and Para-Olympian Chris Silkamp.
Oh, thank you very much. Remember, I'm standing up, so sitting down is kind of hard because I like to walk the room. Yeah.
The clicker can be used to advance the
excellent.
slide.
That's good.
Yes.
Hold on.
The
Let me get
first
my other
one.
arm. That's better. Let me go back here. There we go. So, yeah, so I've been in the Y for over 30 years. I know it doesn't look like that, but started actually in '89 part-time down in Orlando and worked at Campanona as a counselor, and then came to the Y up and started CEO in 2011 in Texas, and did something very similar to this in Texas, where we had a city that was losing $750,000 a year, 5 months of operation on a pool, and they were going to build a new one. I said, hey, why don't you build it at the Y, and then we'll use that as a cornerstone for capital development, and your community can still use it, and its citizens could still use it for $3, and worked out great because it was a win-win. The city got a brand new pool, a zero entry, beautiful pool, and the Y used it as a fundraiser to raise about $6 million and renovate the facility, and the community got the better of both ends of that deal. So kind of similar to what we talked about now for Palm Coast, but let me tell you about the YMCA in general so you have an understanding of our association. So we have 6 branches and 1 residence camp. As you know, Campanona, you may have heard of it, out by Leon Springs, but it's actually the oldest camp in the U.S. for a YMCA. It's over 100 years old. So 1920 was when I first started camping on the shores of Campanona for the Y. So, and then we also have Deltona Family Y, DeLand, Holly Hill, Orange Beach, Port Orange, and Southeast down in Edgewater. So those are our current branches we have. Finances, so the budget's about 12.9, actually now it's over 13 million. Total assets 19 million, net 13. 37,000 members and 49,000 program participants. So it's considered a mid-major Y, kind of in the middle when you look at YMCA's. But give you an idea, talk about the turnaround. So when I got there, the Y had lost about $7 million in 5 years. In fact, they told me that, January I was hired in 2019, and the board chair said, hey, we have enough cash until August. You need to figure it out, or to close our doors, because they ran a line of credit and a bunch of other stuff. So we did that. We came out, the budget then was about $9 million. After COVID, it was about $6 million. And since 2022, and now we've doubled the budget. So COVID kind of, I guess it fast forwarded the business plan that I had for the association and kind of maybe make a lot of moves that a lot faster than what I had originally anticipated. But right now, we're a very, very healthy organization. We're expanding. Right now, we're renovating our last branch, Port Orange, currently under renovations, and we've renovated the other 5. And actually, Camp Winona starts a cover campaign this year, and we'll start renovating that next year. So we're doing it very, very well, and we're trying to move fast and break things, as Elon Musk says. So community building partnerships, give you an idea of who we partner with. Halifax Health is a big partner of ours and have been for many years, and we do a lot of collaborative programming and seminars with them in all of our branches. We have what we call Healthy Living Centers, where they come in and they do seminars on cancer, diabetes. We have a number of breastfeeding classes for young mothers. Just a whole gambit of programming we do within the YMCA. University of Florida Health also, same thing as Halifax, Brooks Rehab. Bristol County Schools, I'll talk more about that later. We have a very strong partnership with them. Halifax Academy, it's a charter school. They use our Holly Hill Y extensively as kind of their home gym to play in. DeLand Powell and Boys and Girls Club, again, DeLand Powell, we have a very strong relationship with them inside the YMCA. They use weightlifting classes and youth sports in our gym. Boys Scouts, Girl Scouts meet within our YMCA doors. Beach Patrol, so we do a lot of the testing for the Beach Patrol. They use our pools for conditioning, and we have a special membership agreement with them, and they come in and they teach CPR to our staff, so it's a good partnership with them. Easter Seals, classes in our pools for them. ARC, Stetson University, Embry-Riddle, and Palmer. It's a few of our partnerships we have going on. That's not even all of them. Programming, okay, what does a Y do? One thing I said, and I talked to John and other community people I've sat in with the city, some of the community meetings, is we're not going to come up here and take things over. That's not our goal. Our goal is to come up here and fill in the gaps. What do you need? We have a saying in the YMCA, when you've seen one YMCA, you've seen one YMCA. Because every YMCA is different, it's designed different, Its programming is different because it reflects the needs of the community. So ever since day one, I've come up here, I sat into the different, one time with youth sports, I had all the youth sports directors in the area, and I sat in on that. I listened to their needs and what they want to make their sports better. And I said, look, I'm not here to take over youth basketball or soccer in here. I'm here to fill in the gaps. Tell me what you need. What do we need to make the community better? So here's some of the things that we've done. Youth volleyball, and I'm not going through all of them. You know, school care, day camp, is that a need? New Worlds Reading. I know that's been done up here, I think at Fire Rim, and we've started that. And actually, we're the number 3 ranked Y out of 16 in the state of Florida, and how efficient we are in running that program, and how many kids we have using it. Y Reads is another after-school reading program that we do. Teen Achievers, and you can go through some of the wellness programs that we do also. So, Volusia County School Partnerships, this is current. We've done a lot of other things with them besides this, but right now, Port Orange Y, we host Spruce Creek High School. DeLand is DeLand High School. Deltona uses a university to swim at. Ormond Beach is Seabreeze, and Holly Hill, that's the season with Miami. And we actually, in the past month, did a reciprocal agreement where they went to something called Facilitron, which I don't know if you're familiar with it, but anyways, we've struggled with it, and our rates doubled in 3 years using their Facilitron at Galaxy Middle School, which we've been there for like 20 years using that middle school. So we came into an agreement on rates that stabilized. It was a good win-win. It stabilized what the schools pay, and then it stabilized what we pay. And it enabled us to continue with the 700 kids we have in youth sports at Galaxy Middle, and continue with their high schools be able to use our YMCAs. And then we also have the swim meets that they host at the Ys for the high schools. And actually, a few times over at Ormond Beach, we'll host a district swim meet for Seabreeze High School. A number of outside schools come in and swim the district meet. A few things we've done in the past that our Ys has helped out. So DeLand High School DeLand Y is near the high school. And so past years, when the high school couldn't accommodate all the sports, their JV basketball team would come over and practice at the Y the entire season. Their girls soccer program has come over and used our Y facilities. At our other facilities, the high schools have been used kind of as an overflow. I know Deltona, YMCA is right connected to, it's right behind the Deltona High School. So the Deltona Y is almost like the after-school care program. So all the high school kids come to the Deltona Y and hang out there, and until their parents can pick them up, or they go there to work out or swim or what have you. So that Y really is a good indicator, because it's now it's next door to our YMCA in Palm Coast, how close it will be to Flagler High School, the usage that it gets from the high school students. DeLand High, same situation. DeLand High is about 5 blocks maybe from the YMCA, so it's pretty close. So aquatics, what does the Y do in aquatics? It's kind of our wheelhouse. That's kind of what we're known for. In fact, the first indoor pool that was filtered was a YMCA pool in Brooklyn, New York. So aquatics, what we do, we have swim lessons of all types, individual, groups, adults, water safety classes for schools. We've done that in Volusia County a number of times, where the second grade, usually second or third grade would come, and it's not really swim lessons, it's teaching the kids how to get out of a pool, teaching them water safety of survival if they fall in the pool. Swim lessons is a whole different curriculum, it takes much longer to do, but it's more water safety. Almost trying to get them as drown proof as you can within a week of water lessons. Scuba classes, YMCA Swim League, we have a club swim program, synchronized swimming, swim meets, lap swim, everything you would think that a YMCA has. Facility assets, so this is what we're looking at building, to give you an idea for this YMCA in Town Center, the new one we're considering. The Wellness Center is going to be about 10,000 square feet. That would be our second largest in our association, our largest to land at 13,000 square feet. Our sports gym is going to be 3 courts. 3 volleyball courses. One thing I heard from the community and the number of meetings I've been in is there's not enough indoor recreation space for sports in this city for kids, and it's hard to find. So most YMCA's only built 2. I've built enough Ys, and to give you an idea, I've built 2 Ys, I renovated 11 of them, that I have a good idea of how to take the same amount of square footage of 2 courts and get 3 courts out of it without incurring any more costs. So there'll be 3 courts in there. 0 entry Olympic-sized swimming pool, very similar to one that is currently in existence over in Claremont at the National Training Center for Triathletes that Orlando Health South built. So it's an Olympic-sized pool with a zero entry, but our zero entry will have a few more friendly components to it. I won't get into the details of it now, but this will be a unique pool with 2 moving bulkheads, so you can change the number of lanes for meets and while still be able to use for other activities. Youth and adult locker rooms, child care rooms, group exercise room, and a spin room. So about 44,000 square feet approximately. That can give or take depending on needs of the community. And so if you need to add classrooms, we can. Again, we've hired an architect, but we haven't gone into the exact drawing design phase of it yet. We do have an idea of a footprint, which I'll show here in a moment. And this is it. So this is the site that we're looking at. It's right next to the PCAF site. Is that what it is, John? Yeah, so it's a stage, an outdoor area. I apologize, the different colors is usage. The yellow is parking. The big blue rectangle bottom is just the pool. And then over to the left of that would be just a playground and then some outdoor soccer space. Just nothing competitive, just enough for what I call a herd soccer. Those 4- and 5-year-olds that move around in a herd, and they follow the ball. And then up top, in the very top green, would be your fitness center. Then the little blue box would be your front desk lobby area. There'd be more parking on that side. I just didn't draw it. And then behind that, your basketball gym. And then in the middle of it, all those little rectangle boxes are your locker rooms, your spin room. And the red one is your child care room. So very important, your child care borders. You know, I've done a few UIs. Your child care borders your gym, and it also has a separate entrance from your front desk, make it easier for the parents to get in and out. Probably a covered porte-cochere or something like that in case it rains. And then also you have the gym right next to it so they can come back. And then the purple one there is a bathroom just for the child care. But anyways, this gives you an idea of the footprint of the building and the size. Here's some artist renderings we have. It's a commercial group out of Chicago that Jeff Douglas recommended he uses, and they do a lot of, is it a health food chain store they do across the U.S. A supermarket was one of their big customers. But anyways, long story short, they know what they're doing. So you see the pool on the back side, and then the rest of the facility. You give an idea from the aesthetics of it. It won't look exactly like this. I think he got a little carried away in his creative design, as most architects do. If you ever work with them, you know you have to rein them in, or you're going to have a Taj Mahal, like a 10,000 square foot lobby or something crazy like that. But this is kind of the idea, a lot of glass. A lot of YMCA's I design have as much glass and windows as possible. The front part here would be the fitness center you're looking at. This is the front looking south, north side. Here's a side view. I don't see the front door probably on the other side, but now I'm getting into the weeds of the project. This is the back pool. So the pool will be zero entry for a number of reasons. I like building zero entry pools. It'll have some spray features in it, probably some dumping buckets, some spray things coming out of the bottom for the kids. They love it. The bulkhead there is what I refer to. The bulkhead will move, and again, that allows you to have multiple activities going on in the pool. If you need to give swim meet and lap swim, or actually you have 2 swim meets going on if you wanted to. If you want to get an idea of the aesthetics, have you ever been to the Ormond Beach YMCA? We're currently under renovation, about 2/3 done. But that pool, that area will kind of give you the idea of the look that we're looking for. This size-wise will be about the same size as Ormond Beach, and Ormond Beach is 37,000 square feet. This one we're looking at about 44,000. This will be a little bit bigger than Ormond. Ormond right now is serving about 7,000 units. So Ormond Beach has doubled in 8 months from when we started renovation about a year and a half ago. And we think this Y will probably get to 7,000 to 8,000 units under 2 years. Probably sooner than that, actually. So that's just some comparisons between here and Ormond. It'll be very, very similar. I don't think there'll be a second floor. I still don't know why the architect put a second floor out there, but again, I say, you know I put an elevator in, it's cost $100,000. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, well, you're not paying for it. So, so there'll be a lot of value engineering going on with this project. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're thinking in the design phase of it. And again, there's still a lot of room to make additions and make changes based on what the community needs are. But this is kind of where we're at in the starting blocks.
Beach volleyball.
Beach volleyball is one of the things that we looked at, yeah.
As I mentioned, we're not here asking for a handout. Instead, we're proposing a robust, mutually beneficial partnership. Our ask is for the Flagler Schools to invest $3 million to help us build the $16 million multi-use facility that could be and should be considered an extension of your school's campuses. We understand that there are more needs than money to pay for them, whether they're an operational expense or a capital investment, but I challenge you to identify any other capital investment project on your current list of needs that will reduce your operating budget by almost $300,000 annually. Your investment of $3 million will help us build multi-use fitness, wellness, aquatic center. Your investment in the Y, along with several other financial commitments that we have, including a commitment for naming rights opportunity, and our financially sound position as an organization to acquire mortgage for a portion of the project. Your commitment would allow us to change the conversation from coming soon to game on, we're building the Y. Some of the benefits that are in it for you, the Aquatic Center. The Aquatic Center would fulfill all of your current aquatic needs, students, your teams, your club water sports. The new Aquatic Center would allow us to create new programming for your students, which, as Chris mentioned, water safety for early and elementary classes, lifeguard training, high school for high school classes, general water fitness programs, competitive team sports for middle school classes. We could even create programming for adults with disabilities. The Aquatic Center could proudly be used as the school's host local, regional, and state water meets and competitions. The day we open the Y pool is the same day you can close your school's pool, allowing you to reallocate the funds to operate that to other budgetary needs. Early discussions with your administration and staff have identified various service, programming, and general needs gaps beyond the aquatics that the Y would be in position to fulfill, allowing the schools to avoid additional investment to satisfy these and future needs. For example, the fitness center, in our fitness center we'll have a weight room. This weight room would provide more capacity for the competitive weightlifting teams of the schools, but also the other teams that need to have access to weightlifting for their training. It would be available for individual student, faculty, and staff as wellness workouts as well. Indoor ball courts, Chris listed a couple, can be used for school team sports. Maybe we can create a middle school intramural program, and again, adults with disabilities, and many other activities. The Wellness Center, classrooms for specific or special programs. Some will be fulfilled by third parties in healthcare or various social services. Children's Activity Center. The Children's Activity Center of a YMCA is probably its biggest competitive advantage compared to some of the other retail gyms throughout the community, where parents can come work out knowing that their children are going to be in a safe environment with special programming and activities while they're doing their wellness workouts. Speaking of competitive advantages, partnering with the Y will enhance Flagler School's competitive advantage through unique school programming and access to a state-of-the-art multi-purpose facility and Olympic-class aquatic center. Like I mentioned, the Y could be an extension of your campuses where your students, faculty, staff have access that other education paths would not have. What is the value of retaining or even acquiring new students in these competitive days? We are asking you to partner with us by contributing $3 million upfront or over a specified term. And what we've learned is, based on some of the data that's available, $3 million would provide approximately 50 student stations in a traditional brick and mortar school. But we're confident that hundreds and even thousands of your students, your faculty, and your staff would benefit with a partnership with the YMCA.
Okay, thank you for that presentation.
Questions?
I have a couple questions here. You know, overall, for the 44,000 square foot facility, what right now is the projected budget total to complete the entire project?
$16 million.
Okay. And how how are you acquiring the land to build the facility?
So the land is being provided to us through the city.
Okay.
The city acquired the land as part of the development of Town Center. There was an obligation on that property for the Palm Coast Arts Foundation for a 15-year commitment to give them the opportunity to build a facility. That has expired. The purpose of that, the restrictions on how the land can be used, we fulfill. We're a good fit for that property from the city. So it's donated by the city.
Okay, so it's a donation of land, okay. And then, have you is this going to be a phased, or is this, are you planning on building the entire thing all at once?
All at once.
Okay.
Here's where we are, $16 million project. The land we valued at $2 million. We've already received $2 million, just a little bit north of $2 million from the state. We have a verbal commitment from the city for $3 million. They will include it in their budget going forward this year, and it's a 2-year payout. $2 million the first year and $1 million the second year. We have a pledge card. We have a pledge from a private individual for the naming rights. The value of that opportunity is about $4 million. If the schools were to commit to the $3 million, that would put us at $14 million of the $16 million required. We've engaged a third-party fundraising company for this project and a couple other opportunities we have throughout the organization.
And how much would you say, if you were to carve out the aquatic facility, the zero-entry Olympic-sized pool, what would you say that
The
counts
aquatics,
for, in a dollar amount or percentage?
$6 to $7 million.
Okay.
He wants 7, we want 6.
I'm just trying to open up debt so I can put money back into the programs and not into the bank.
Right, so, one thing is that, there's definitely, from Flagler School's perspective, there is a need to maintain a pool for our athletics, and right now we have one pool and we utilize the city's pool. Both are aging out, and so there's definitely a need for newer facilities. We already feel a bit squeezed as a community already with what we have right now. Have you addressed the percentage of needs for the city, how much you've calculated for the school's needs? My only concern would be out of the gate, is this pool overcommitted? And will we be able to still have access and use for the things we need, along with sharing it with the rest of the community?
I wish we had the physical dimensions of the pool that you operate today, but Chris can give you a little bit more detail on the size and scope of the swimming pool that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have 2 other Olympic-sized pools. We have one in Ormond Beach and one in Port Orange. And the lanes you're looking at is 21 to 18 lanes. The difference is because how wide the lanes. You can make the lane 6 feet wide, or you can make them 8 feet wide. So let's say you go with 21 lanes. You use 8 usually for a swim meet for high school, or 8 for your high school practices or so, 8 to 10. So to answer your question, I don't think it'll be, one, I don't think it'll be overbooked. And number 2, you guys have first priority. So you don't have to worry about that. So we have the same situation going on at Ormond Beach, where we have the Seabreeze High School members using it, and then you also have a club team here. It's called Fluid, I believe. They would have access to it. I've spoken with their coach. She's been a very big supporter of the Y coming up here, and I said, look, I said, Carrie, I said, I'm not here to take over your swim program, because we have a very large one called Hydro. We have over 130 kids, I think, in our swim program right now, travel. So we're familiar with how to schedule for efficiency when you have a large high school, large swim program. Now, this situation, you may have 2 high schools. So, but we'll make it work. Because we'll have 21 lanes, so you could have both high schools practicing at the same time. That wouldn't be an issue.
None of our current pools have the movable baffles, the walls.
Yeah.
So when we looked at the design of the pool, the 0 entry is for young families and seniors, right? And seniors want to wade in waist-deep water. You need a certain depth of water for the competitive lanes. If they're too deep, they're fast or slow, or too shallow. And then we also addressed having the deeper end for the synchronized swimming activities and so forth. So with having 2 mobile walls, we could have multiple different activities going on at the same time. And I think that would provide more flexibility as far as the school's needs, right? As far as scheduling and the availability of the aquatic center. So, very robust.
Okay, do those walls go all the way down?
Close to it,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do. We looked at them at the pool. We actually visited the pool over in Claremont. I wanted to get an idea, and I talked to the guy who runs that. I said, you could change this. If you could do anything different than what you did, what would you do? Because I would have 2 of these bulkheads instead of 1. And I said, all right, I'm going to put that in my notes. And then we talked about some of the other aspects of the pool.
The physical dimension of it, I think, is 230 by 75, the swimming pool itself.
Right.
That's pretty big.
And if we had to make it bigger, we could, because with that bulkhead, you can still run the long course, what they call long course, the Olympic size, the 50 meters, and still have other lanes going on the other side. So again, if the need is go bigger than 230, then we can. We have that space on the property to do it, and that's a beautiful thing about this is that we can figure out what our needs are up front and the design. Because what you want to do when you go into a facility, you want to design a facility around programs. You don't want to build the facility then try to put the programs into already built facility. So we know what programs we need, we know the demand, we can go ahead and design it to meet those demands. And the other part about swim teams is that not all swim teams like swimming in the afternoon, right, because of the thunderstorms. So your swim program runs. If it thunders outside, you're out of the pool for half an hour. So a lot of swim teams like to come in at 6 in the morning before school. I know we have a few high schools in Bush County, they come in the morning, they don't come in the evening time to do their practices.
You mentioned some partnerships like Halifax Health, Orlando South. Has Advent, or have they been approached, or any other large organizations to partner?
Yes, I've met with Advent's Vice President of Strategic Initiatives a couple times on doing some partnerships up here in this area. They're very interested. I've met with David Weiss. He's the CEO over Lucia and Flagler County with Advent Health about it. They're interested. He's a former physical therapist, so he loved the idea of water therapy programming as they do in Orlando South.
Chris has conversations with the region here locally. We've been in communication with them, and almost a year ago, they were ready to make a presentation or an offer to us, and we said we weren't ready for it yet. And again, the conversation has gone to the regional level instead of just here locally. So yes, they're very interested in the success of the Y.
And the proximity to the hospital was very positive. So yes, they're interested. We just have to get a little farther along with our partners and the program before we go back to them. But we've had some dialogue. It's been very, very promising.
I'd kind of like to see a comparison, what if we built our own pool, just to compare what would be the cost for that versus partnering with the Y. Just something to think about. I'm very conservative. I'm not a fan of using tax dollars, for private things. I think that's the problem with our whole federal government right now. But just an idea for the board, if we were to pursue this, perhaps maybe selling some property or something, just something to think about. Just finding funds instead of using money that we already have.
Yeah, I'll just say I appreciate the meeting that we had to kind of get an overview of this a few weeks back. And, John, we talked about, the funding piece and where we are as a district and what our priorities are, number one, with the education and where we are just financially. And then we would have to look at some additional you know, to your point, Ms. Chong, of looking at other ways of being able, if we were to partner, this is something that the board wanted to do, we would have to look at something to not take away from our current programs. And you heard some of the issues and challenges that we are facing just with federal funds, and, you know, and I think that's some of our priorities. And not saying that these things extracurricular, and we talked about the seats, I don't want to ramble too much, but I guess my point is that we, as a board, are going to have to continue to look at this. I think, you know, what the funding piece looks like. Where do we get these funds? We don't have the general dollars to do anything like that right now. I think that we all know that, or we should. And we're going to have to look at additional ways if we want to do this. And I think you bring up a great point. So that's just my 2 cents.
At the start of the meeting, we spent a couple of minutes with Superintendent Moore, and our measure of success of this meeting, I think you've given us what we were hoping to achieve: continue dialogue.
A couple of things to clarify. You had mentioned that we would have access in terms of our students and our teachers. Are we assuming what you're saying is that they would not be charged a fee? They would have free membership?
It's open for discussion, negotiations. School sponsored activities, your teams, your current programs, whether it's aquatic center or not, there would not be cost to the school for access to the facility. It would be part of what I've labeled a partnership.
So as long as they're practicing under that program, then they're
Sanctioned.
having access?
Correct.
Okay.
We internally have had discussions about offering a significantly discounted rate, membership rate, to families of enrolled students in Flagler schools. You want to touch base a little bit on our membership?
Yeah, we've discussed
philosophies
also
anyway?
membership-wise. So Volusia County, they're part of Florida Healthcare, and if you followed that, you just saw what happened in Volusia County. But prior to them separating from Florida Healthcare, their faculty could use the YMCA and staff without any fees to themselves at the gym level, not the pool, but just at the wellness center. We have a membership structure that you have a gym-only membership at a lower cost. So one thing I spoke with John about, that's one thing we could do for Flagler County staff, is they could have access at no cost to the fitness center, which I think would dovetail nicely with your health initiative with your staff. And then if they wanted more, like they want to use the pool, they wanted a family membership, then that they could purchase that at a discounted rate. But that's one scenario that I think would benefit your staff in the community.
One of the benefits that you're highlighting here is that we could have expand competitive swimming programs, but in your mock-up, I'm not seeing any location for spectator seating. Is that a miss in just the mock-up?
Yeah, that's just, we haven't gotten that far down the road into details of it yet.
Then how do you know that the cost will only be 16 million if you don't have things like spectator seats included?
Well, you go by your square footage and what a general construction cost is. You have to go in how you're going to build it, and you go into what's called the value engineering, and you look at it. So what I did calculate in my cost was 20 feet of pool deck all the way around the pool, which is more than enough space to put in seating for spectators. Generally, though, most events just have tents, and people bring their own chairs when these swim meets. For the high school level is what I'm referring to. The key is having enough pool deck surface for that.
Okay. And is when you say 230 by 75 size, that's feet?
Yes, yes.
But the metric dimensions for a competitive, and I'm just not a swimmer, so I don't know.
Right.
But an Olympic pool is
50 meter.
and it requires 82 feet a foot width. So wouldn't that be a little?
8 feet width of lane. Your
If
lane.
it needs
your
10,
lanes are
so it would be less than 10 lanes.
On the width, usually when you go in long course, you have eight lanes. So you go in long course, that's 50 meters.
So it would be just shy of Olympic
High school,
size.
yeah, high schools usually don't go long course. High schools go short course, which is the 75 feet across. That's generally what a high school is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess to Ms. Chong and Mr. Barr's comment related to the budget, right? $3 million is essentially 50% of our general fund reserve, which would put us in, we would be breaking the parameters as a school district to expend that money in one particular fell swoop. And that's where initially I was thinking, all right, well, maybe if we don't have to expand our number of schools at this time, there could have been an advantage with some of the property that we could own, but you've already secured that town center location, is what you're saying. Ms. Moore, is there when we talk about access for these programs, though, we're also, how do you get the students there after school, right? Or it sounds like the proposal is to be an extension of the school campus, but that would be also added cost or logistics to even figure out how to get students there from the two high schools or
Well,
middle
we're
schools.
currently transporting some of our students to the two locations right now, so it would be that.
Similar, okay,
Yeah,
so the
pretty
two
similar.
locations, the Bell Terrace one, what's the other one? They go
Frida
to Congress?
Zambo.
Oh, Frida Zambo, that's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Can I back up on one of your
Yes.
questions about, I'm going to label it furniture and fixtures. Because Chris has done a marvelous job and the financial condition of the YMCA region, we know that there's more expense than building the facility of $16 million. And we are in financial position through his operating with surplus every year and the spread of this expense over all 7 branches. We understand that it is more than $16 million. We're going to steal chairs from various YMCA's. We're going to use desks, and we're going to beg, borrow, and steal best we can. But yes, we're prepared to handle the furniture and fixture aspect of it. As far as transportation, the YMCA's, we do have a small fleet of buses and vehicles.
Vans, I like vans more than buses.
Vans.
And when I mean vans, I don't mean the 8-patch, I mean the vans that are kind of like the church vans, seat for 14,
Transit,
15.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
So-
you don't need to have a CDO license for that, and you know how
Gotcha.
hard they
Yeah.
are to find.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do what we can.
Okay. So, I guess one item that I'm wondering is, Palm Coast, we're growing population-wise. However, when you look at our average income comparatively with the rest of the rest of the state, we're in the middle there. But we have a large number of folks who are at or below poverty line. So you've done a market analysis that you feel our population and its current income data can support the membership fees. Because what we'd also hate is that we put investment in this, and then in 5 to 10 years, you have to close that down.
That's a great question. So first off, let me say the YMCA never turns anyone away for inability to pay. So this past year, YMCA gave out over $700,000 in our association-wide to financial assistance. That's for kids to take swim lessons, which we actually have a lot of free swim lessons. But anyways, after school care, summer camp, youth sports, membership, the whole gambit. So if we have a single parent mom, she comes in and says, hey, I can't afford the $80 for youth basketball. We ask them, we give them a form and they say, prove your household income and what can you afford. And basically, we always make them pay for something, so it's never free. But generally, we try to get to pay our costs. So let's say youth basketball, it's like $15 because that's the cost of a shirt, of a jersey. So we don't turn anyone away for inability. We did a market study, yes, and our market study told me something that is very similar to what our current membership. So we have, our membership structure is one of the few membership structures in the U.S. and the only one in Florida. So let me explain what I mean by that. Deltona is very similar to Palm Coast, I feel. I have a Y in Deltona, same size, but 100,000 people. It's a very blue collar, low income, but mainly blue collar area. We changed the membership structure there and renovated that branch. That branch, the board wanted to sell when I came on board in 2019. They wanted to get rid of the Deltona Y, sell it because it was losing money and the Y was losing money. We renovated it and we changed the membership. And we changed the membership to a gym only at $15 membership structure. That Y is in the black, and it has gone up 35% in 9 months in its membership, because we did two things. One, we gave them a quality facility, but we gave them a price point that they could afford. So how we do our memberships is we have a gym only, we call it basic, and then we have a plus membership. That's if you want everything, the group bags, the pool, all the bells and whistles. Then you pay for a plus membership, which right now is $47. So you have an entry level of $15, and that's where we start. So that's why, and you say that our market study said the same thing. Our market study said, hey, we can't afford the 47, or we can't afford the 79 for a family. We need something a little bit less. So we actually started doing that membership structure before, well, about the same time as that market study actually came out, right after COVID, when we did it. So
The feasibility.
So we actually have the business model proven success that we're going to implement in Palm Coast. But our goal is to build a second YMCA in a few years down the road on the northwest sector of town. So they would be catty corner from each other. We already had talks with individuals and corporations about that.
That's where I was going. The feasibility study forecasted that Chris will have 6,000 members. He likes to call them units in a very short period of time. But long-term would be a second YMCA facility. We are in discussions with the developer, the landowner, who's already identified property available to the YMCA. So this is first of two for Flagler.
My last question is, what type of jobs does a Y typically bring?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. So our YMCA right now, our association has just short of 500 employees. Of the entire association overall at all of our branches.
Okay.
All right,
in Florida.
In Volusia County. No, just in Volusia County.
Our region.
Wow.
No, our association, just in Volusia County, has a little less than 500 employees. Now, most of those are part-time. So, but to answer your question, this branch, I foresee this branch having about 80 employees, probably 4 to 5 being full-time. And the rest being part-time, but varying. You'll have the high school lifeguards and the high school, front desk workers, but then you have a lot of retirees who need part-time jobs, who will work at the front desk, they'll work maintenance, they'll work other areas, and then you have your personal trainers, and then you have your floor staff and your maintenance staff and your after-school care counselors, your summer camp counselors. Mm-hmm. So it'll bring probably overall the entire year about 100 jobs to the area.
Mm-hmm. And do any of those roles, especially the full-time, receive like benefits or healthcare?
Yes, so they receive health care, and the YMCA pays 3/4 of the health care. We have a very robust, probably one of the best retirement plans where the Y pays 12% of whatever you make into a retirement plan. We have a number of retired people who make more money retired than they do working. I don't know what that says about our current wages, but yeah. So we actually have good benefits because we don't pay a whole lot out of the gates, to be honest with you. We're trying to raise that up. I did implement a HAY plan. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a salary administration plan. I started that 3 years ago in our YMCA. So our employees are on par with other employees in the industry and what they get paid. So program directors have a scale, senior directors have a scale, child care has a scale, execs have a scale, and so we do have a salary administration plan to make sure that we're paying them fairly compared to other YMCAs of the like size.
Thank you.
All right, good. All right, thank you for the presentation. So out of all of, I know Volusia County, there's quite a bit, and all of our YMCAs that are around, how many other school board districts have donated to help build a facility?
That's a good question. So I researched that. That we know of two, and it was on site. So you have Lake Nona in South Orlando, where they built a middle school together. The Y did, and the school board did. And then Spears is brand new, just opened up $24 million project for the Y there in St. Pete, where they built a middle school and a Y, and they share property, like they share the gym, and they share other parts of the building. So those are the two off the top of my head that actually structural where school board has invested into a YMCA.
In our region, the relationship with Volusia County Schools is based around programming and fulfilling their needs for their students.
So just the two that have the YMCA built within the school, but like in this case where it's for a community, no other school board has donated that you know of?
I'm not too sure because it's not something that is reported, like it's not something that is, hey, here's a report that we fill out every year and it's in there. So I have to do some more research to find out in Florida where there is. I know South Florida has done a number of pool partnerships with the county and other municipalities. I need to find out if they did it with the schools down in the Fort Lauderdale area.
Like similar to this situation.
Exactly,
I guess.
yeah.
I'm just curious.
Right, yeah,
what other
I'm looking to
school
see.
boards in the state
Right.
have done something similar, have been asked, so, okay. And so from my understanding, I know we had a meeting, and then so as of today, the possibility you guys are contemplating potentially free memberships for teachers and staff, and then highly discounted for families of Flagler schools. So, and amazing, but I'm wondering, like, because we are such a big district, I'm just wondering, big meaning population in this county, financially, does it make sense for, if so many people are not paying a fee to get in? I'm just
What she's
wondering
saying
how
is
will
we're like
it,
the
like
number
who,
one
Right, so
employer.
a
who's
lot
gonna
of-
pay the electricity bill?
Well-
If everyone's free and a discounted rate, so I'm just trying to, because if you do the math is not mathing, so I'm just wondering.
It depends. You want to answer that question, or we answer it?
I'll say that it's open for discussion. We're looking at, how do we create a robust partnership? How do you benefit from this? What's in it for your students? What's in it for your faculty and staff? Yeah, we have a business to run. We know what we can and can't do, but we can't do anything if we don't open it, right?
Because it sounds
we-
wonderful to have a discounted, but I'm just, will it be able to run if so many people have a discounted rate and free rate?
We haven't committed to the rate structures yet, but theoretically, I think the points are pretty solid, that direct school use, no cost, the facility is yours to take advantage of, right, for your school sanctioned programs. Benefits beyond that are, clean sheet of paper and negotiable.
So, yes, we had to crunch some numbers and figure it out, but ballpark, let me explain the business model behind it. If we give you a basic membership, all right, so you come in, you get a basic membership, $15 is free, just use the gym. But all of a sudden you rave about it, and now your husband wants to come, or your friends want to come work out with you, now they have to pay full rate. Or you want to upgrade to a family, you get that $15 off of the family rate. So we're bringing people into the doors, but if they wanted to add on, then they have to add on for those expenses. Just an idea that so you also have 2,800 employees, I believe. So not all of them will use it. Probably in statistically, only 20% of the population actually works out. So let's say 40% of your employees use the YMCA. I think came out to be about $180,000 a year of lost revenue that we're giving for free. But out of that, it is probably some of that will be additional revenue, like some of them will take personal training, so they'll pay for that. Some of them may upgrade and when you use the pool, if they've been there for a while. So on the surface, like, oh, but actually when you look at the business model, it makes some sense for us. And number two, he's correct, we have to find a revenue, some way to get this Y built. And if we don't ever build it, then no one ever gets any of these benefits either. And then the other part about the kids, maybe we give them a membership, and what that means is that they repay a reduced rate. So instead of paying, or they get 20% off or 30% off. And so the Y is still getting money to cover their costs. So we're getting money to cover our hard costs. There's just not as much margin in it. But again, it's a good win-win-win because your students win, they get less. The Y may get a little bit less, but at least we get enough to cover our hard costs and our expenses.
I'm wondering if,
But again, it's just a discussion right now.
if some work could be done to think of non-traditional ways in order to have a partnership. For example, instead of the $3 million in cash, and again, this is just off the cuff.
Sure.
But we have a robust maintenance program. If they were to take on some of the maintenance of the facility, could that, I know that doesn't help you with the capital to build it immediately, but it also does lower your operating costs. And obviously, we'd have to do some feasibility around that. But are you open to something of that nature, or are you needing the immediate capital in order to build, to make it happen?
Let me address it this way. The immediate capital, again, because of the financial condition of the region, we have the ability to mortgage. I approached Chris early in the conversation saying, how much mortgage do you think you'd be comfortable?
Zero.
Okay, he said 0, right? And he came out and said, $2 million. Well, I had the same conversation with our chairman of the board and a couple of the other board members. The mortgage, our ability mortgage is much greater than that. The more we borrow, the more pressure on Chris, right? So when you talk about needing all of the money up front, we can leverage long-term commitments, cash flow, right? Some of the relationships that we shared with Volusia County are for services. Well, that's a guaranteed contract or revenue for us. We can turn that into a mortgage to help build a building today. So we do have that flexibility. It just makes it harder for us to be successful, right? I also want to back up to the membership cost. It's just the general philosophy of the YMCA that every full-paying member pays enough to cover somebody that can't pay. So when you look at an estimate of 6,000 members of this YMCA in a short period of time, we expect half of them will be less than full rate.
Would there be any ongoing cost to the district outside of the initial capital investment?
Only if there were special programs or services required. For example, it's again, our conversation naive maybe, but when you build a building, when you build a new school, you pay a teacher to do things in that classroom, right? So if there are special needs that need to be addressed for the school, if there's additional cost directly associated, then we would look for you to cover that. But going forward, I don't think there's any risk of additional expense to the school. I think we would, it would be prudent of us to say that this free access from the schools goes on forever. There would be some sort of a term to it, whether it's 10 years, 15, whatever. We don't know. But again, that's part of the conversation.
What I'd like to see, one thing I do want to kind of put in perspective here for the board is that today is more about learning from this side, not so much of coming up with the formula, but I think we've had definitely some great ideas coming here, because we will have to, at the close of this discussion, send this back to our legal team to review this, because as you all know, our dollars are very restricted on how we can spend them, where they can be spent, and on what they can be spent for. So that is going to be, this is definitely going to take more workshopping beyond today's. But one thing I'd like to do is to understand a little bit more about those relationships between Volusia and one, which is kind of unique, which is one way of partnership, and then you had the others with Lake Nona and St. Pete, which were a new construction, but a shared, like almost public-private partnership, right? So in Volusia, right now, were they involved in the construction part, or are they only in programming and use?
Only in programming and use.
Okay. And then how does that work out with Volusia? Do they pay a use fee, a flat fee per, how does that work?
They pay per lane per hour. So
Okay.
right now, I believe it's $13 per lane per hour, which is half of the national rate. So we give them a very discounted rate to use the pools.
Okay,
Because we know swimming is not a high-income producer for schools, the program, the sport. So, and then in exchange, they give us a very good rate to rent out the middle school gym for our youth sports. So they've kind of frozen. We gave them a 5-year payment plan, and we did the same thing for them on the pool side, so they can plan accordingly. Like, this is what's going to be the cost the next 5 years. So we both sat down and said, look, why are we jacking up each other's fees? Why don't we just kind of work with each other and find something financially that works for both of us?
okay, so basically, they have a 5-year agreement that they're paying 13 per lane.
Well, it goes up a little
But
bit.
essentially, but just
Yeah.
in the construct of it, that's what it is. So they can forecast their budget.
Correct.
And then, do they already have a set allocation, or is it truly just as needed? That they,
I don't know. It's each school has their own sports budget and expenses, and I don't know.
okay, and how many pools service the district right now?
I think
With
5.
5 pools,
Yeah.
okay. Now, of course, just for the public, Volusia is a much larger district than us, so that is something to put in perspective. But we do have to, I want to look at that, 5 pools versus, the student enrollment there, and say, hey, is even that adequate percentage-wise for them, just to make sure that we are in balance with our student population with one pool, right? So that's one
Good
there.
question.
Then we have the public-private partnership, which in a way kind of looks similar, but not, because it's not necessarily tied to a school property, because it sounds like both of these projects, literally, they share facilities.
Yeah.
So explain kind of how that worked out from a funding standpoint, how the school got involved and,
I'm not sure we can answer that right now. They are not in our region.
okay,
But I want to go back to this phrase or this label I put on it as partnership. We are open to co-owning the facility, right? Whether it's shares of a corporation or square footage or a condo or however that relationship is. But if the school is required to own that property, we are not adverse to that, or a portion of that property.
Yeah, so you could own the pool, and we lease the pool back for $1 a year or something for so many years. So that's one of the vehicles where you have complete control over the asset,
That-
if you wanted to.
And then, when you asked about,
Well, you brought that up. So that was our conversation. So we have what we call a kid zone on site. So if you're a mom and you have a 3-year-old, you drop them off in the kid zone and then you go work out. Adult ed, if we had adult ed on site, some of the obstacles for adult ed is with their children. They could drop the children off in the kid zone and then go to adult ed on site. So we talked about that, one of the possibilities.
and then, Chairman Furry, you were asking about the various relationships with the other schools and so forth. And I'll go back to what Chris said early in the presentation. If you've seen one Y, you've seen one Y. Whatever the needs are, whatever the gap is, however it makes sense for everybody, we're flexible. We want to come in and fulfill needs. We don't want to come in and say, this is how we're going to do things, right?
Right.
So which Y did you recently build that's in driving distance if I wanted to go check it out?
We haven't built, well, Deltona, that was a long time ago. The one that we've renovated, that's under current renovation, you want to look at is Ormond Beach. So Ormond Beach, we fortunately have received about $9 million from the state in the last 3 years, by far probably 10 times more than any other Y in Florida.
What the heck?
Yeah.
I'll
So
tell
we have friends in high places, but a lot of that.
Somebody's niece lives there?
So
If I may.
go ahead if you want to.
We have a patriarch in Ormond Beach, and his name is Charlie Leidecker. Charlie operates a very successful insurance agency. His in-house counsel and partner is a guy by the name of Tom Leake.
There you go. Okay, got it.
So, and Tom will be the Senate president in 4 years of this region. So Tom was able to steer, like the example, this year we got 1.125 million. We only asked for 1. And every other Y got cut by like 90%. So, but going back to your point, so Ormond Beach, about 4 or 5 million has gone to Ormond for that, what you renovate. So that will give you an idea, stop by the Ormond Y, and it'll give you an idea of the size and the pool size and the pool deck size and everything else. And
And the size of the naming rights where it says Charlie Lydecker.
Yeah, that also. So.
I know we're, did you have any more questions? Because I just had, I
Well,
know
just
we're
wanna
coming
point
up.
out, we only have an hour left.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I didn't mean
So
to-
just, we do have some other agenda
kind of
items.
fun.
So I just
Wow.
want to wrap this.
Yeah, I just had
Yep, go
one
ahead.
more from my original question. So for what I'd like to know is, so it sounded like no matter what, this is going to be built, so it potentially, so I'm wondering, maybe the cost factor, like with the lanes and everything, again, like I think understanding the math of, you know, if we didn't have the money to present, but it was built anyway, how much would it cost us? I know this isn't for you to answer now, but just thinking, okay, well, for our high school teams to utilize this, you know, perhaps it makes sense to, we could afford to use it to pay at the price of a school, and then Ms. Chong talked about, you know, building our own pool. I know that also costs money, but if the pool is things that, you know, people are interested in, so the math on that, and then, you know, I appreciate like all the information, but I think just thinking of like the math.
It's not only the pool, it's the locker rooms that you're gonna have to build. So the locker rooms, the idea, locker rooms, we just redid at Ormond Beach, and it was $325 a square foot. And that was on a redo, not even new construction. So your locker rooms are your most expensive. Bathrooms are always your most expensive part of the construction. So not only do you build a pool, but you gotta build a locker room along with it. So just food for thought when you do those numbers. So going back to your point, some of the $3 million is not only for the pool, some of it covers the locker room and other amenities along with it, just FYI.
Was that in the 6 to 7 million scope of the
Yeah.
pool? Was the
Yeah.
locker room?
So your locker rooms are gonna be about, you know, depend the size, but
They are
Additional.
on the building side, not
Oh,
the
okay,
aquatic side.
okay, so that 6 to
Yeah.
7 was just the aquatic facilities?
Yeah, yeah.
Without locker rooms? Okay.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. All right, so I think what we need to do is wrap this up for today.
Yep.
This is a lot of great information. This is thought-provoking. You know, let's get counsel from our attorney and to see where, how we can potentially participate, or what this looks like in the future. But this is going to take some more workshopping until we can get somewhere. And so we would definitely invite you back for those conversations.
Great.
All right?
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you for being
Thank you
here.
for being
No
here.
problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good job, Chris.
Okay, so that moves us now to 7.01, NEFEC liability insurance, and that's Mr. Sven Smith, Attorney Sven Smith.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the board, I'm glad to be in front of you. This is professional liability insurance with reference to the mental health counselors and social workers. I think you're looking at, while you're looking at it right there, the professional liability premium is there in front of you. You also have the deck page, starts on page 14. This is brokered through Gallagher. And so if I think there's like 23 policies on there, and this is brokered by Gallagher, so if there's anything missing in the policy or we come across anything that wasn't thought of in my conversations with Gallagher, then Gallagher's E&O insurance would cover it.
So you're saying if there's certain exclusions under this plan, that there's a,
They would still be covered, because our answer would be to go to Gallagher through E&O, because Gallagher is not just simply the broker, they're also the consultant.
Huh.
And so they're telling us what exactly, because my imagination sometimes, if you check with my wife, it's limited. Okay? And so
Can't
sometimes,
imagine that.
okay, yeah, especially with household things, you know, and what the house could be, et cetera. But in that same idea, you know, with regard to mental health, professional concerns, you know, so I was worried about that. So I had a long conversation with them in depth to make sure that our mental health counselors would be covered regardless, because they definitely need to have coverage. And I
Yeah.
definitely applaud the district, Angela O'Brien and Brandy Williams, in taking this a step forward to present to you today.
So this would be an additional insurance that we don't have, we're not currently covered. This would be an additional insurance over
Yes,
what
sir.
we have right now.
Yes, sir.
Can you clarify what it means when it says defense costs are in addition to the limits of liability? So you're saying something happens, there's a suit, we pay the $1 million, but then if we had to defend ourselves, we have to pay that as well. That's only in terms of the award of the settlement or whatever it may be?
Yeah, beyond the extension, beyond the limits of coverage, we would have to pay for attorney.
Okay.
So we absorb the cost of our own defense, but if we were to lose or settle, there would be a payout. That's what we covered?
No, just the cost of just the defense costs.
Oh, it
itself.
would cover the defense?
Yeah, just the fees.
As a reimbursement?
Just the fees.
Okay.
So like the lawyer fee, we would have to pay, but if there was a judgment,
It would come out of the other
It would come out of
insurances
it.
Yes,
that you have,
it would
that we
come out of
have.
the E&O.
Okay.
okay. And so this is, I'm assuming that you shopped around in terms of this is a competitive policy, pretty standard.
Yeah, so 2 different policies were presented, and there was a notable difference with the same type of coverage.
Okay.
I also felt more comfortable with the personnel with Gallagher
Okay.
because I kind of got it that I want to, get some answers pretty quick.
Mhm.
And so I made some calls at like 5 p.m., 5:05.
Right. Oh, nice.
And in
Quality.
the morning, when I got in the morning at like 8, I had a call back from almost the entire team that's listed here, because I kind of just went through them one by one just to see, let's see if anybody's working late.
Smart.
You know,
Yeah.
nobody was, but they were definitely working early because I got a response from almost everybody on the team, and so that meant something to me.
That's great.
So going back to the piece with having, representation and so forth being represented, is there a limit up to it? They'll pay up to a certain amount for that attorney fee?
Yes, it's
Did I miss that somewhere?
it's up to and inclusive of $1 million for each claim aggregate for
Okay, I
3
see,
to
3
$3
million.
million.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions on this item, board?
No,
All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, so we'll move on to 7.02 Wellness Center update. Mr. Rolette.
Chair Furry,
Mr. Walker.
Board, I never go anywhere without my Mr. Walker. We are here for basically a brief update on our wellness center and more to follow. So I'm going to let Josh go ahead and chat us up.
Excellent. All right, board. So we just want to take this opportunity to provide a brief update on the operations of our Flagler Schools Wellness Center, which we were very excited to open on June 25th and have our ribbon cutting on July 8th. So thank you guys so much for the support and attending and just kind of putting the word out there that the Wellness Center is open to Flagler Schools employees and qualified dependents on a Flagler Schools medical plan. So here on the next slide, we just have a couple of fast facts. Now, mind you, this wellness center has still not been open for a month yet, if you can believe it. It's extremely exciting to see the early engagement we've been able to see throughout the district, and those numbers are starting to come in. Once we finish our first full month at the end of July, we'll be able to have more complete data sets as it relates to utilization, appointment types, and things more of that nature. But as we sit here right now, and as of July 16th, the Wellness Center has been able to complete 146 appointments, with 164 appointments that have been scheduled, most of those in July. Now, just in the time that we've uploaded this to board docs, we've gotten some additional information I'd like to share. So far, as of July 21st, we have been able to complete 181 appointments actually at the Wellness Center, with 103 scheduled, or actually, I apologize, 210 from June 25th to July 21st, and we have 103 still scheduled to complete this month of July, with 71 scheduled for August. So what we're seeing is we're seeing folks utilize the Wellness Center, getting their initial consultation or meeting with the provider, getting their labs completed with follow-up scheduled pretty quickly. So the feedback has been really great early on, and we are expecting to get more and more data as it is open for at least a month.
Okay.
It's really good
And we're
numbers.
also starting to see some of the initial things where they'll get blood work requests from their preferred provider, but they'll still be coming through us to get the processing at the Wellness Center, which is also being an insurance cost, significant insurance cost savings.
Yeah.
Every little bit helps.
Nice.
What's the wait time?
So early feedback has been very quick. So for those of them that have appointments, which they all should for the most part, we've had folks even in our office go forward and do it. I would say, 10, 15 minutes at the most. I mean, people are getting in and being seen very quickly. And that's the benefit of this, not just being a walk-in clinic, but one that is being structured through appointments, even same-day appointments for those that wake up, might not be feeling 100%, calling in and getting appointments same day.
Okay, that was my next question. So they're able to move those in there pretty quickly as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's good.
And then we're seeing our pre-employment drug screens are being run through the Wellness Center now for all non-DOT drug screens, and we're getting results same day, which has been great.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been incredible.
Now, obviously, what we really want is we want to string, a series of months together and,
See
come
what
back
it's all
again.
about. Yeah, that's after the
And then
initial
we can
month.
talk about strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
A little early right now, from talking with the folks over at the Wellness Center, one of the things is, because they've been so busy, we're interested to see is once school's in session, if we continue through with that. I mean, it's a little bit easier to get down there now when you're still on vacation.
And that's where we're gonna really notice or have to monitor the times of making sure that we're open when it's convenient for our staff. I know we've talked about that
Yeah.
before, but I think that's something we'll really have to monitor when we start going back to school in August.
And I think as long as we are all on the same page, that we have to be receptive and nimble
Yeah.
as far as the data goes. And we can kind of stay ahead of curves and potential issues to try and maximize our usage.
I wouldn't, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I wouldn't suggest it yet, but I'd still would like to think about a cash option for families maybe down the road if it slows down.
Like outside of our
Like
insurance.
spouses, yeah.
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 I think also when we take a look and maybe once it's open a full quarter, to analyze if we're meeting those metrics that Marathon required. Because remember, there were going to be potentially additional costs for advertising in order to get a certain number of folks engaged. I can't remember what the timeline was on that, but we probably want to do a spot check mid-quarter or midway, just to see how we're doing there. As well as, I'm sure you're taking input, results from our team members' participation in the clinic, right? They, Marathon has a survey system, and we should be getting results back from their feedback and rating on the services that they're receiving there.
And at the opening, which was wonderful, so great job, I spoke with the x-ray tech. So she has her basic x-ray at another Marathon clinic, and she was just raving about, just getting the numbers up, and then, eventually it'd be great to have an x-ray machine. So if we can, I don't know how the tracking is, like if there's a tracking of, potentially a patient that came that maybe could have used an x-ray, like just like, a little tracker. And then obviously it would matter how many patients they see for financial reasons to even purchase a x-ray machine, how it works with their contract. But that I know, I'm curious, because, injuries like that could be very cost saving to get an x-ray there instead of going to the ER and spending 5 times the amount.
All right, well, thanks for that.
I got one last question, I'm sorry. Is there, are we doing like a survey after they leave?
Yeah, so part of Marathon standard operating
Okay.
procedures, they have that feedback loop directly embedded into them, yes.
Okay, perfect.
So that's something we'll be looking for when we get that first month of reports. Those satisfactions should be a part of it as well.
That's great. All right,
That's
thank
a
you.
great update, thank you.
Thank you all.
Very encouraging.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to 8.01, compliance report, Mr. Basardat. Okay, sir.
Good afternoon, school board members, Chair Furry and Superintendent Moore. I come before you this afternoon to discuss our quarterly compliance checks with the Office of Safe Schools through DOE. During the fourth quarter, they did visit 4 of our schools. There was one deficiency found at obviously one of our schools. It was in regards to training. In the beginning of 24-25, we promoted 2 principals in the district. And when you become a principal, you have to take an additional training related to threat assessments. One of our principals attended the second day of training, wasn't aware that they had to attend the first day of training prior to the second day of training. So that was identified and it was corrected. As soon as we identified it, DOE actually came down the next day and provided the principal the training.
So with that being said, we've got 2 new principals and so forth. Has that already been taken care of with the new ones, or is this in the process?
No,
Their needed training?
Actually, all of our school-based teams are being trained either starting this Friday and it'll continue through all of next week. So
Okay.
all of our staff members, principals, school-based teams, district-grade teams will receive all the training they need in the next few days.
And this has nothing to do with the other training piece, but I was keeping of records, the last deficiency
That-
that we had
yeah.
from the other, so that's,
That was a managerial
Yeah.
concern as far as the way I look at this was a mistraining.
sure, okay.
Okay. All right, thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much, good job.
Okay, so now this moves us on to 8.02, Flagler Palm Coast Parcel, Ms. Davina.
Student Board, I'm bringing to you the letter of intent submitted, and to this, the property that's in question is that 1.3 acres that's adjacent to Olive Garden, I believe. And that's where it is located. So I went in and researched the property. If the board is desirous of declaring as surplus, we have to assess the property if there's any encumbrances, legal or otherwise. And I found out easement in there, perpetual easement, conservation easement, in favor of St. John's River Water Management, and it was given to them in 1999 as part of the mitigation for the stormwater for Flagler, for FPC High. And as you can see on your screen, there are several setbacks in there. That part is a wetland, and it is also part of the wet detention pond, which receives runoff from the town center. And so if you are still contemplating, they can still use the wetland, but the other thing is in SREF, which is state requirements for educational facilities, vehicular and pedestrian traffic cannot cross, and then hazards should not be present in those instances. So if you look at it, there's really no legroom for this property, and so staff would still want to seek guidance from the board if you want to retain this in the district properties or surplus it and therefore make it available for sale.
If it's made available for sale, though, do we have any obligation in that sale to have to be able to bypass the conservation area designation of it? Like, because if we own it and we surplus it, wouldn't we need to be responsible for that? And then that would involve a lot of fees that we would incur.
Yes, we would need to ask St. John's to release us from the easement, and then it will have, we will have to provide mitigation somewhere else. So it would take a lot of time. We don't even know if there.
So we'd have to find mitigation on our property
Yes.
somewhere else?
Yes.
Okay.
And can you speak a little bit more to the impact that would have to Transportation Way?
Well, Transportation Way, yes, the only access that they can have if we decide to sell the property to them is on Transportation Way. On Moody, there are underground infrastructure in there that DOT has easement on. I don't think they will allow us to interfere with that. And then you have the swale on the west of the property where water from town center goes through Moody and towards Grove Lake. So if you look at the appendix, those are the easements that we have on FPC. And if somehow we're going to sell this property, we would need to mitigate somewhere else.
So we can't use it for anything except for water mitigation.
Yes,
Okay.
that is essentially.
And if we were to sell it, whoever bought it, their customers would have to pull into Transportation Way and then into their business.
Yes, and it will present hazard for our
Yeah, that
students
would be
and for
a nightmare.
buses.
And then we don't know what the impact of moving, like, if they were to develop that area, clearly it's absorbing some runoff into that wetland area, and we know FPC.
We put a
Right.
lot of money into fixing this issue.
Right, we don't want to go back to the swimming pool
And the
parking lot.
No.
Yeah, maybe this was why when I was on vacation, I'm not sure like why this was presented as, is it just because this company is asking us for
Yeah, they
this?
made an offer.
Do they know, what is it that they want to do with it?
I heard like a coffee shop
It's a
or
coffee
something.
shop.
I think they were just
Oh.
looking, I think they were going down the
Retail
map
business.
because all the land is
Right,
getting
and they
taken up.
wanna
They're
get it
like,
right next
oh,
to
there
high
might be an
school with the
opportunity there.
kids.
So I think they were just exploring the prospects of it.
And
Yeah.
because the board has not given previous direction that we were able to go to, we brought it before you. When we look at this, we do not recommend that this property be sold because of the impact that it will have to us. But we did not have that direction from you as a board, so we brought this forward to you so that you could see what it is
Sure.
that we see related to this
So
property.
here's an interesting thing, so there's two issues here. One is using Transportation Way for the business. Secondly, is the cost of mitigation, right? So, but the interesting thing here is the way that it's set up here, and I don't know if this is possible, but if it was tied in to, if say the town center wanted to make this a property, provide access through the Olive Garden parking lot there. I'm just saying in the future, if we decided we would like to sell it, because some of the mitigation, if the business can generate enough income and it's worth it to them, we can, as a negotiation, make them do the mitigation that we would have to do in order to sell it to them.
Right.
So, but to me anyways, from the Transportation Way, that's just a non-starter, based as long as transportation's on that property.
Or are they trying to build the access through the back of the parking lot,
That's
through
what I was
Olive Garden?
thinking.
Because I'm thinking if I was a business owner, I would not wrestle that alligator. And already in that Target parking lot, people there's only like 2 entrances to go through to every business, maybe that's what they're thinking of.
Yeah, well, I think their initial idea was that they would actually make an entrance right off of 100, probably what they thought.
Oh, like
they would-
create a
but-
brand new
Yeah,
one?
but no other,
But
but
that
no other
wouldn't-
business does that, right there. They all have to go through go into, what is that, landing, whatever that boulevard.
Well, on the other
There's a-
side, well, I mean, because this wouldn't be part of the town center project, but if it was part of it, like I was proposing there, then yes, but I'm just saying, I think their initial thought was either one, we would let them use transportation, or they would have been able to put an entrance off 100, but then maybe learn later that that was not possible.
Right.
Because if I was starting, I wouldn't want it to go through transportation way. I'd want it to have a direct access off 100 if I was them. But I'm just thinking in the future, if there wasn't, like this business that wants to buy it, if they said, okay, well, how much do we really want to be there? They could approach the town center and go through that direction rather than doing this, and then pay the mitigation costs, and then we could sell the property. I think they offered $759. So they offered $759,000 for the
And
property.
you said a coffee shop, but I know, in my mind right there, I was just thinking, I mean, it's easier said than done to build on that, but depending on what they were going to build, I know a lot of students were having issues with all the vape shops that were
Yeah,
built.
we don't want that.
So that's the thing, like, what if it's something that
Well, that would
Right,
Right,
definitely.
they already go to Wawa and hang
I
out.
would put a deed
school lot,
restriction
yeah.
or something.
Well, on the flip side, what is the cost to us for hanging on to this? For something that essentially we can't use, what is is there any kind of financial burden for us at this point?
Before answering that, I would say, we are using it, right? We don't have a building on it, but because of the position of it and the work that has been done, it is beneficial to us from just the stormwater piece of it.
Right, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
right. It
yes.
has, right.
So we don't have a building on there, but it definitely is helping the infrastructure of the school, per se. But outside of that, I am not aware of, and I'm gonna look at Corey Bush as well, I'm not aware of any other cost that it is costing us to have this continue to be a part of the school.
Okay.
it may be priceless because of what it's doing with the water. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I would
There
definitely
may-
Because of all the
We
work
may
they
not
had
be
to
able to
do.
mitigate this another way,
Yeah,
so.
all the work they did.
So I guess
in the
for
parking
right,
lot.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but for right now, it appears, as proposed, it seems like it's just not something that we could consider, or we could consider.
I think if they come back to the table, they'd have to come back to the table with something totally different
Yeah,
for us.
yeah.
I don't think that's even something I don't think we could consider based off of how we use it and what's been mentioned. And then the offer is not,
Yeah. That's the
And
next
that-
phase. It would be, we would have to get appraisals and things like that also. So,
Right.
the price per acre has really gone up a lot since all the commercial has been building there.
Especially on that spot,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
front- I mean,
it's
that's
prime
funny, that's
real
prime real
estate,
estate.
right on 100.
Well,
About
they're
three
probably
million.
thinking, they probably, I'm wondering if they're thinking of getting it switched from a wetland themselves, and then maybe they're thinking they would have the cost of having to move the whole drainage system there. So I guess the question would be, what is the alternative to the entrance that they would want, if they're willing to answer that question? And could we, if they still wanted to pursue this, could we put a clause like, you cannot modify that wetland pond?
It would still be the purview of the St. John's Water
They
Management
would make that
District
decision.
to tell us. So it's honest,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, just a suggestion, you could put in there that they would have to solve that problem with St.
Yes.
John's Water
Yeah.
Management.
we're just giving you the
as-
property, you've got to work out what you do with the
Before,
wetlands.
before any
Yeah.
paperwork gets signed, you
Do
need
they
to
know
bring their information from St. John's.
Did they know this research that you have done, or would they just find out about this today?
Yes, they will
Okay, so
find out.
they're probably gonna watch this and see what we just talked about here, take this data, and they have to go back to the drawing board. We're not, as far as I'm getting is the consensus, we're not looking to say, hey, give us a counter offer, just, hey, we
'Cause I
can't
think
do this right now.
And I think thinking about it in the stages that you as a board would have to go in, is first and foremost, this property, this land is not considered a surplus to you at the organizational level because of what it is doing for us as far as stormwater. That will be the first step.
Right.
And I think being very clear with the community as well as this business owner, regardless of who would mitigate and all of that, the board has to first, and I want to just lean on you, the board at this time, this is not considered a surplus. And we would be bringing, we would need, in order to respond to this individual with this data, do we have to bring that before the board for some type of vote, or can we use this information to say essentially, this is not a surplus? Because it's not at this moment a surplus.
Sure, we could describe the nature of the property, which is not a surplus. If, after they digest this information, if they brought something else back to the board for consideration, we could put it on a future agenda.
Okay. Are you okay? We will respond to them with that.
Okay,
Is there a buffer value to this too?
all right. So thank you very much for that,
Thank
and
you.
doing all the research there, appreciate it.
Less than $1 million.
Okay, so, very good, so that was word on YMCA. So that just moves us down to public comment. Is there anybody for public comment? No, there's not. Okay, so we will close that, and we will just move on to board member requests. Are there any board member requests at this time? Okay, then we'll move on to closing comments. Any closing comments?
Nope.
Okay, Superintendent Moore?
See you tonight,
All
6
right.
p.m.
This meeting is adjourned.